Okay, we're rolling.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to the How to Podcast series, one of the last interviews of 2025. And, I try to save the best for the last. And Noah is here. Lethal Venom is the podcast, and he's here to talk about all things. We're not going to have a lethal time. Like, nobody's going to get hurt or injured in this conversation. But Noah's here to talk podcasting. A great podcast you're going to love. A great podcaster. You're going to love this person. Love having Noah on the show. Noah, welcome to the How to Podcast series as my guest co-host. Happy 2025 year end. Looking forward to 2026. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Dave, thank you so much for having me. I can't wait for our conversation today. So it's an honor to be on your show today. So thank you for having me.
Right. If you're not seeing Noah's screen behind him, he has got the best backdrop. I love when somebody shows up. Like mine is just my room. You have this beautiful backdrop. You got all your icons, you got all your logos, your podcast, and you got a Christmas scene in the background downtown. It looks beautiful. I love the background. So we'll have to make sure we share that with people too. It's good.
Thank you. It totally was not what I originally had when I first started doing interviews. It was essentially just a blurred background, and it was so basic. And then someone that I had on as a guest had this kind of similar background, and I said, "I'm stealing that. I'm copying that and taking it." I said, "How did you do that?" And so I went on Canva and made my own, and I just kind of went with it. So it's kind of how I've kind of set up, and I change the background a little bit every month, kind of get a little, kind of adapt it to each month a little bit, so it changes. But
okay, so I have a question, a logistical question, because when I have people who come on with a virtual background like yours, sometimes they turn into ghosts where they move and then they disappear from the camera, and then they get close to the camera and they're back again, or their hand will appear from nowhere. You're nice and crisp and clean, and the background's nice behind you. I'm not having that experience with you on the screen. Are you doing anything special so that you don't kind of fade in and fade out like I see in some virtual backgrounds?
I don't really know. I don't use a secondary camera. I use the camera that's connected exactly from my Mac. I know a lot of guests that I've had have had cameras. They have additional cameras that kind of set up to the side, and they kind of look into that, and they don't use the desktop camera. I never really was a fan of those because the camera technically would not be directly in front of the person I'm talking to.
Right.
So I'm easier. It's easier for me to like look at the computer screen and kind of look at you, because typically where my camera is, it's generally in the same areas where the person I'm interviewing is. So I never really fully I don't look like I'm looking off camera. I'm looking at the side or anything. I'm kind of looking straight ahead, even though the camera's like right there. So it's I've always used my camera, and it's been a good camera on the Mac. So I've never had problems with it. But now my hands do kind of just pop up a little bit here and there. They kind of disappear, but for the main outline of myself, I've never really had a problem with my face disappearing or anything yet. Now it
looks great.
Probably will happen, but so far it's worked out pretty good.
Okay. All right. Well, it does look great. You got a great setup. Well done. Let's talk about your podcast first, Noah. What's your show about? How long has it been around? Let's introduce your show to people who might not have heard your show yet.
Yeah, so my show is Lethal Venom. It's a very truth-telling podcast. Think of it as like kind of a carefree talk show. It's more of a random, people will come on from different backgrounds. I talk about random stuff that's happened in my lifetime. It's really just an open-ended conversation where I speak nothing but the truth. And I've had some really truth-telling guests on my show that have come on. I've had people that have worked in the medical field, people that have worked as police officers, firefighters. I've also had people that specialize in mental health diagnosis, therapists. I've even had people that just are filmmakers. They do casual fundraisers, things. Like I had a guest that did like a bike ride across America for a good cause. I had someone, I've had authors. So it's very sporadic and very much variety based show of getting all kinds of different backgrounds on there. And
Yeah.
it's been around since February of this year. So next February will be 1 year since I've had it, but I started the show back in
Wow.
early 2025. But the process of the show was like a 4 year process. It was a very long time coming of trying to get a podcast up and going. Um,
Okay.
but for this show, it's been around since February, and it's done pretty well. For the first year, it did pretty well.
Okay. How did you get started in podcasting to begin with?
Back in 2021, I remember this was, of course, right in the middle of the pandemic. I just woke up one morning and was like, I want to do a podcast. But of course, I had no clue how to start one. Had no clue about what went into a podcast at all. Um,
Yeah.
so I had to do a lot of research. I found this platform which was called I forget what the name of it was at the time. It was or Anchor. It was called Anchor at the time,
Anchor. Okay.
but then it
Yeah.
got rebranded as Spotify for creators, and now it's podcasters. I don't know. The brand
Yeah.
name keeps changing, but at the time it
Yeah.
was called Anchor, and it essentially was just like a free platform where you could upload and record podcast episodes, and then you could upload it and it immediately would distribute to all the podcasting services. So
Yeah.
I thought, well, that's what I best need, and I didn't really think I was going to have to edit much. I didn't think about any of that at the time. I thought, oh, just like a platform for me to upload the raw version works for me. Well, I had some personal
Yeah.
stuff come up there in that time, and so the podcast had to get put on the back burner and had to be kind of shelved for a while. And then in 2022, when I went to Auburn, I transferred down to Auburn for college. There was a guy that came to one of my classes and was talking about a podcasting class that he was opening up the next year in the fall. And that if we were interested in wanting to sign up for the class, to go talk to our advisor and get put on the wait list. Well, I went immediately to my advisor and I said, I just had a guest come to me about a podcasting class opening up next fall. I want to be first dibs for the class. Can you put me on a wait list now so that when it comes time to sign up, I can easily sign up and get in? And we did that. I was able to get in the podcasting class, and then the next year, 2023, took the fall class. And one of the assignments that we had to do in the class was come up with a podcast pitch. So think of it as like a pitch idea to a job. So that was kind of how it was. At the time, I came up with I was a huge reader at the time, loved reading, and still do, but I just haven't had a chance. But at the time, had just gotten back into it. I had pitched a book podcast to the class and was like, "This is what my podcast is going to be." Kind of get some topics on there. But in the middle of doing the book one, I also came up with, I wanted to have a podcast where it was more carefree. I wanted it to be kind of more sporadic in myself. And I wanted it to be very truth telling because I had a lot of stories at that time that a lot of people didn't know, and a lot about my past that had not been shared to the public. I thought, I think doing that on a podcast would be really beneficial. I think it would be fun. Um, so Lethal Venom that's kind of how Lethal Venom came to be, was after trying to come up with a podcast pitch for the class. I kind of came up with this other idea for another podcast. And I, of course, pitched this one to the class, and it got mixed reactions from the class. Some people liked it. Some people thought that it wasn't a good concept at the time, but it was one of those things where I didn't really listen to any of the opinions, whether they were good or bad. I just went with it. And
Yeah.
after that, the next year in 2024, it was more of a trying to get everything finalized, coming up with a name, kind of come up with the artwork for it, and really was just learning a lot about microphones, editing softwares, all this stuff that had to go into getting the podcast out there. I recorded some demo episodes that never got published because I hated the format. After once I learned how the format how I wanted it to be, I listened to those early ones and was like, I hate these recordings. They are so bad. I'm shelving them and
Yeah.
deleting them.
Yeah.
So I tossed them in the trash and re-recorded all them, and starting in February posted my first episode. I posted my teaser last year, so end of 2024 I posted a teaser, and then finally, after I graduated from college, I was finally able to really sit down and focus on the podcast and really get this thing up and going. And then February, released my first episode, and it kind of just took off from there. But that's kind of how this podcast came to be. It was a 4-year process.
It's a long journey. It's amazing that you can put that time in to create this, and now you're getting close to your 1-year anniversary. That's amazing for you, Noah. Well done. Over the time that you've been creating the show, and from the being in class and learning about podcasting in a class setting, I think that's an amazing experience, first of all. But creating your show, you've learned something over this time about podcasting. What do you think could help a new podcaster that's listening? Maybe they want to start a show in 2026 and they're at the very beginning. They don't even really have an idea yet of what they want to talk about, but they're going to wake up tomorrow like you did and go, I want a podcast. So what kind of things would you say to encourage that person that's listening that you can do this?
The good thing about podcasting that I think a lot of people don't really know about is you can really have a podcast be anything and everything. I think a lot of people tend to want to have a podcast that fits a certain area of criteria, and that's essentially not true. If you want to wake up and do a podcast fully on talking about crafts, do a podcast on crafts. There's not really anything out there. There's nothing out there that says you can't do a podcast on this topic. There's just nothing out there that's like that. If you want to do a full podcast on Disney and Pixar, do that, because you'll be shocked of how many people out there are huge fans of those areas and would listen to it. I think a lot of people get scared of that, and one big misconception I think a lot of people get is how easy it is. This is not easy to begin with. People can be like, well, how hard can it be to podcast? All you do is talk into a microphone and post it. And I said, if you don't care about your show a lot like that, then yeah, it's that easy. But I'm a person that's real picky. I'll go in there and I do the edits. I make teasers. I do everything kind of to help promote it. There's a lot of just there's easier said than done. There's editing, there's recording, there's promoting, coming up with description boxes and everything. It's a lot of work, and I think a lot of people don't realize how much work it is once they start. I want people to know that. I don't want you to go into it thinking that it's as easy as hitting the record and then publishing it. It's not a 2-step process. It's a multi-step, gradual progress that's or a sequence of things that you have to do to be able to get it up there. You have to distribute it to all the platforms. You have to sign up for those platforms. You have to record, edit, share it with people. And then if you're a person that does interviews, you have to schedule it. You have to plan it. There's just a lot of podcasting behind the scenes work that I think a lot of people are just not knowledgeable of or aware of. And I don't want people to think when they start doing it, it's that hard. So, my best advice, if you want to do it, is it's not easy, but I don't want that to defer you away from doing what you love to do. And no bad idea is bad. If you have an idea for a podcast, do it. The worst that will come out of it is you don't get a single stream. I feel like as long as you get one person listening to it, just keep doing it for that person. That's kind of what I've had that thing of, because that person may love that podcast. And if you stop because they're not getting enough streams, then they're going to feel real bad. So even if you don't get a lot of streams, and that's kind of another thing is, I think a lot of people tend to imagine and believe that they're going to post their first episode, they're going to get thousands of streams in the first listen. It's like going viral on social media. That comes very rarely, that your first video will go blow up.
Right.
So in this case, with podcasting, some people could post one episode and they instantly get a following on their first episode, where there might be someone that posts and it takes 2 or 3 years for them to finally start getting recognition for their show. So I don't want people to
Yeah.
think that the first episode you post is immediately going to give you all the success. You're going to get all these viewers and listeners in there. Most of the
Yeah.
time, it's not going to be like that. It's going to be a process of trying to build that following. So those are some
Yeah.
tips that I've learned that I think a lot of new podcasters don't go in thinking at the time. They kind of just say, oh, it's easy to record, it's easy to get listeners, it's easy to post. It's a lot more than, there's a lot more that goes behind the scenes than those three easy things.
Your format for your show, how did you decide? Are you going to do solo? Are you going to do interview? How did you kind of decide that at the beginning of your podcast?
At the beginning, I always wanted to do interviews, but I had no clue and had no idea of like, okay, what's the appropriate way to send an email to somebody or send a message to anyone at that point, whether it was on social media through an email, that didn't sound suspicious and didn't sound odd. I was like, I don't know how to word. Even though I majored in journalism and have my BA in journalism, I still cannot talk properly very well, and just because of where I'm from. But I was like, I don't know how to come off professional without sounding creepy or like, because that was kind of one thing I was not good at, was promoting and pitching ideas to, or trying to get guests to come on the show. I always wanted to do interviews, but at the beginning of it, it was just solo episodes. I had so many solo stories and just solo episodes that I could really tell at first. And then I think about May or June, I started doing interviews, and I have tended to do more interviews than solos. I'm hoping next year to have more of a balance between those, to where it's more of
Yeah.
a mixture of the two, more so than just
Yeah.
all interviews. Even though I love doing the interviews, I think a lot of people like the solo ones too, and I want to kind of have an equal balance in there. But it started out as solo, and then it kind of just drifted into interviews with the sporadically occasional solo episode kind of mixed in there.
Had you done interviews outside of podcasting and interviewed people in real life or virtually way before you started podcasting, or was interviews brand new for you because of your podcast?
That's a good question. I think if I wasn't in journalism, yes, I probably wouldn't have done interviews until podcasting. However, since I did major in it, that was one of the major things that I did for my major, was having to interview people for assignments. So interviewing at the time was not new to me. It wasn't kind of a surprise that came out of nowhere. I had some knowledge and had some experience in doing interviews, so I wasn't nervous doing it. But I think if I had not have done interviews or had majored in journalism, I think podcasting, that probably would have been the first time I would have done like a sit down interview.
Any tips for a new podcaster who wants to have an interview show on finding guests when you have like no episodes and you've never interviewed anyone before, but you want to have an interview show? How do you find people to start a podcast and you have like 3 episodes? How do you reach out to somebody then and invite them onto your show? Any tips?
I am not the best on giving advice here without kind of giving like a cheat answer, but
Oh, I like cheat answers. That's good.
I was approached, and Dave, I know you're on PodMatch as well.
Yeah.
But PodMatch, I would say, would be number one in trying to get like an interview style episode up and going first. I was reached out by Alex, which we love Alex so much.
Yay, Alex. Hi, Alex.
We have to give him a huge shout out, because I think a lot of Dave's interviews and my interviews could not have been without Alex's help and Alex's platform. I remember he reached out to me and told me about PodMatch and was telling about me about this network that he had started up for new podcasters, and that it was kind of a interview style where you could find guests or hosts to be on shows and have them be on your show. That's number one of what I would say to be, um, if you want to find guests, that's actually a legitimate thing that's not scams. There's not anything. PodMatch would be number one of
Yeah.
trying to find good ones. Outside of that, I'm not the best on it. I know if you say that you want to have interviews kind of sent out as like through emails, I don't see anything wrong with that. I would try to maybe use Chat GPT. Don't use it for like word it for word, but I would say essentially would probably Google or use Chat GPT and say how to professionally send an email to someone that you
Yeah.
won't have on your show as a podcast guest, and it usually will give you some good examples, and could give you some templates of how you can kind of word the email and everything. But just sound kind of professional and kind of sound yourself. You want to have kind of a good tone in there of like being able to sound authentic, but not sound like a robot that
Mm.
just copied and pasted this message in there and it's not you. Being yourself is what really sells you and really sells your brand. If you go in there and you type up this very robotic kind of everyday response, people are not going to take it as seriously. If you put your own
Right.
twist in there and put your own sense of humor, put your own sense of style and words in there, not you have a better chance of getting recognized, of being like, oh, this is not custom robotic AI generated message. This is someone that has actually sat down and either typed it out or they had someone do it for them that's professional and wasn't just immediately made in 5 seconds. It took
Yeah.
time to type it out.
Right.
Those are those are my tips for that. And it's also I wouldn't just go for it. I mean the worst that will come out of it is they say no or you don't get a response. So
Right.
I would say that PodMatch would be the easiest route to go is to find guests, but um, there are other platforms out there that are like if you're looking for guests or if you're wanting to be on shows or anything. There's
Hmm.
another one called I forget I had the name of it. It was like a popular one.
Yeah.
It had been recommended to me 500 times and I can't remember what it is now to save my life. But
Because we love PodMatch so much. That's
exactly.
why.
Um,
Right.
it was
Yeah.
like this thing where it kind of automatically generated emails and they would send emails out for you kind of
Okay.
sporadically. I can't remember what it is. It's a huge platform though.
Hmm.
Oh my God, that's going to bug the crap out of me now. If you just look up like podcast guests or looking for podcast guests or shows, it'll
Yeah.
probably would list give you a list of where you to go. But for me, I would always recommend Podmatch as number one.
Yeah. That's good. I like that. That's a great answer, and I'm sure Alex would appreciate that. Alex does seem to. I don't. He's got some kind of alert set up because anytime I post an episode and I put PodMatch in the title or we talk about PodMatch, he's right there. Boom. Like bang, right away. And he was on my show. He's a great guy. I love talking to Alex. So yeah, we're both biased here. We both love PodMatch. So everyone go to PodMatch. You can have time with Noah as well. And yeah, for you in 2026, Noah, who would be a dream guest for you? Like a type of person, what they do for a living, who they are, a big name or any name, and who would be a dream for you to have on your show? They might be listening, or somebody might know them listening to us right now. You never know, right? So, who would you like to have on your show in 2026? That would be fun for you to interview.
Ooh, that's a good question because there's so many I could name off. Um, Essentially any celebrity that's kind of well known in the spotlight, I think would be good for the show. So
Yeah,
I'm open. I think there's a lot of good um podcasters out there that are really have very successful podcasts. I think just having them be on the show would be a good fit. Kind of shared their truth about their story about them and could kind of get more of a truth telling episode about what they have been through growing up, what they kind of advice they would give the podcasters, I think would be a good guest to
Yeah.
have on there. But there's so many to name. I just can't name one. There's so many. Anyone essentially that's in the spotlight or that has a very interesting story, I think would always be a good fit for my podcast. So, um, essentially, I don't really have any limits of who I would want on there. So I'm pretty open to about everyone. So that's always a hard question for me because I'm like, I
Right.
don't know exactly who I would want. It's like number one. It's so hard to choose.
Yeah. Recently, for my author podcast, I've got 9 different shows that I do, and one of them is author podcast. I had a retired FBI agent who was stationed in Thailand, and he came on, and when we were joking before we started recording, and I said, like the typical movies, they have that van, the FBI van that has nothing on the side of it, and parked out on the street by your house, and I'm like, there's a pizza van. I made it up. I pretended. I said, there's a pizza van outside of my house. And I said, is that you? Like, are you in the van? Like, he's like, no, we use TV repair trucks now. I'm like, what? He's like, I'm joking. But he was like, this is really interesting to
Yeah.
have somebody on from the FBI. I've had people on from the Pentagon. I had a U.S. federal judge. I've had people on from the FBI, Secret Service. Like, you get to talk to some pretty amazing people who, as a Canadian interviewing them as well, I would never have the opportunity to talk to these people. That's what I love, is meeting people that do something unique for a job or something I've never done and letting them tell their story. I find that the audience loves it too, because it's like you get a little behind the scenes of somebody you would never meet in real life, probably.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I love about podcasting. It's really fun.
Yeah. I've had some really good guests come on my show as well. It's been kind of how I mentioned earlier. I've had casual people come on that, when I mean sporadic, this is an example of how diverse my show is. I remember one day I had, I'll just kind of give an example. It's like I had 4 guests that day. I did 4 interviews, and they all were from different backgrounds. One was a
Yeah.
sex therapist. The next one was like someone that was in the church and was like kind of like a pastor. And then I had someone that was a doctor, and then someone that came on that was just a therapist. That's how diverse my shows can get on recording days as well. And that was one of the days I had. It was just the biggest mixed bag. And I thought, this is why I love this show, because someone can have
Right.
like, um, the one episode could be all about sex and all about these different sexual positions, and then the next episode's like, today I have a pastor from the Church of God. It's just like, and I'm pretty sure people are gonna be like, you just talked
Wait,
about
what?
sexual positions in the last episode. How we do this 180? And I'm just like, that's how my show goes. You don't know. I love having that level of surprise for my guests, because I don't
Yeah.
give any previews of like what the next episode's gonna be, because I love keeping it a
Nice.
surprise, and I love
Right.
just keeping it kind of have it to where people won't know who's coming up next and who's the next episode until that episode comes out. So it's always I love releasing it because it's fun to see what episodes do well and what doesn't do well. Um,
Yeah.
some of my favorites I've had on my show was I had a woman that came on that was a survivor of child abuse and was just really came from a really bad home, and her story was so impactful to me. It kind of made me almost cry a little bit, and it's hard for me to kind of cry from human stories.
Right.
I've been one of those people that in movies, when they see a person die, or it's like this is kind of like someone is like has a very intimate moment, or it's just like a real touching moment, I don't really get feels. But yet, if a dog has like a broke toenail, I'm like I'm just like a weeping mess.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've always been like a person that's, human emotions don't really get to me, but something in her story kind of triggered something in me. I was
Yeah.
just, and I think you could kind of hear it in my voice. I was getting choked up a little bit when I talked, and she was just my all time, pretty much the most raw episode I did because it was just a huge true telling of it was like incest, it was child neglect, it was child abuse, sexual assault,
Mm.
rape. I mean, it was just like such a really tough episode, but
Yeah.
loved how she told the story. And I think that how she formatted it was just fantastic. I loved having her on. And then I talked with somebody that was a upcoming filmmaker. I think he was my youngest guest. I think he was 18 or 19 at the time, or he was 18 or 19. And he had just started a film and had just recently had one of his films do really well. He had like his premiere at one of his local movie theaters for his film, and he was talking about how it felt having his film in a big theater with 200 people. It was sold out completely. They actually had more
Mm.
tickets sold than they originally planned, and he was just really ecstatic of how well it turned out. He was one of my favorites. I think I ended up being his first podcast, so I was like, love taking that crown. But
Yeah.
I love having guests have me be their first podcast. I'm just like, I love having that role. But um I love having that kind of thing is like I was his first podcast. But had him on, and then another guest I had on was like the original voice of Susie off of Charlie Brown. I had Yeah,
Really?
I had one of the original Charlie Brown actresses on there.
Come on.
So I
Wow.
think in terms of fame, I think she was probably the most notable person I've had on there. My friends
Mm.
all got a kick out of it. Of course, some didn't know who it was, but some of my friends were like, "No, you did not." And then I had to send proof that I was interviewing her, so I had to like sneakily take a picture and be like, "This is who I'm talking to," and they're like, "No way." So, that was very exciting, and she was just a blast to talk. I love talking with her, and yeah, I've had really good guests. I've not had a bad guest either. So that's been one of the good things that I've had. I've not had one bad guest yet.
Have you been a guest on podcast often as well?
I have been on a few podcasts in the past.
Yeah.
During my break, I have been able to reach out to more podcasts, and I kind of switched roles from being a host to being a guest. So since
Yeah.
I have been taking a break between season one and season two, I have kind of reached out to more podcasts to be a guest on their show. Not often, but I was supposed to be on a lot last week, and of course my internet went out, and I didn't have internet for like 2 or 3 days. So I had to
Great.
reschedule all of those interviews. So that was very nice for my internet to go out. But um, I've been on I think about 20 podcasts, 20 or 30.
Okay.
So
All right. This is yeah, and this is no reflection on this show, but what do you prefer? Do you prefer doing your own show? Do you like being a guest? Do you like a mix? Like what's your personal preference?
hmm, this might get a little controversial, but I kind of like doing kind of the guest spots a little bit more because all I have to do is show up
Oh, yeah,
and not have
yeah.
to
You don't
do
have to do all the
anything.
work, right? Yeah.
So it's nice, but I love doing the interviews myself. I
Yeah.
love hosting. It's just a lot that kind of goes on behind the scenes because I do kind of multitask. So a lot of people don't probably know, but while people are doing their interview, I'm scheduling new podcasts coming up. I'm sending messages out to people. I'm checking
Right.
emails and everything. I'm looking to see what the next question I have for them is. So there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that I do um that a lot of people are not really aware of that so I like doing the hosting myself. I love doing it. It's a little bit more stressful at that a little bit,
Yeah.
especially when I first started doing the interviews because I only had the 40-minute time limit on Zoom. And so
Right.
when I had like people that came on and it got like 35 minutes and they're right in the middle of a story, I'm like, speed up, speed up, speed up. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
you gotta hurry, hurry. I was like, and then at the very end, I'm trying to cram everything in, and then I could hit stop recording at 30 seconds, and I'm just like, okay, we're about out of time, but I wanted to say thank you so much. And I'm just in a panic, and I'm too stressed out.
Right.
When I finally
Yeah.
got upgraded to being able to do kind of like unlimited, I felt more at
Yeah.
ease. I was like, oh, I feel so much more relaxed. Because
Right.
during that, the first interview that I had on that new plan, I was just sitting here and I thought, oh, no 40-minute time limit. It was just so stress relief because I was
Yeah.
constantly looking at the time like this. And I was always like,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh, 38 minutes, 38 minutes, 50 seconds. And I'm just like, we got to hurry up. So
Right.
I don't really look at the time much anymore, and it's just more casual, carefree. So
Yeah.
a lot of my stress went out the window during that time. But yeah, I like guesting a little bit more just because I just have to just sign in and just sit here and not do anything. But
Yeah. It's nice when you're a guest because then you can see how other people do their show as well. And you're like,
yeah,
I like how they do this and I like how they do that. And that's a good idea. I might bring that over to my show. Or, right, you get to learn from other people. And just because you're the guest, you have no idea and very little expectations because you don't know how they do their podcast.
yeah,
I just find it's a good learning opportunity, too, to meet other podcasters and do this. That's why I love having people on the show, too, is I get to learn from you. So that's the whole goal. I like it. What are you thinking are some of your big hopes in podcasting in general for 2026, and maybe for your own show specifically? But as you look at the new year ahead of us, it's only a couple days away. What's your big dream in podcasting for 2026?
huh. Well, I do have some behind the scenes work that I am doing. With the internet being down, I haven't had a chance of being able to work on these projects, but I am hoping to kind of integrate video into podcasting because it
Yeah,
seems like that's just how podcasting is now. It's just video that tends to be the one that does the most successful on when it comes to teasing episodes. People love visuals. I just hate seeing like a blank
right.
thing with what kind of like captions on.
Yeah,
So I am going to start trying to integrate video in there, even though as much as I'm going to hate it, I probably am going to have to just to kind of get maybe more of a following on there. I would like it to be a little bit more back to the audio kind of only because I think a lot of people hate the video side of it now because some people it was always interesting to me when I said, "Oh, my podcast is just audio," and they're like, "Oh, really? Oh, well, okay." And then because they come all dressy
yeah,
and all casual, and here I am, just look like I'll just come off the street, but
yeah,
they come in a suit and tie. They kind of come on with like a suit on, and
yeah,
here I am with a white T-shirt on, like.
yeah. They start holding up their books and they start holding up things to show on camera, and you're like, this is an audio podcast. Nobody's going to see what you're doing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
then
see that too. Yeah,
and you should say that at the beginning, and they still do it, and you're just like,
yeah,
they're not gonna see that, but
yeah,
I do want to try to integrate the video in there so that it's more like that. But it's some people love the audio, and I've had some guests come on that have said, "Oh, well, okay," and they actually gotten more comfortable when the camera's not on.
right.
Which I still, when I do recordings, have the camera on because I kind of am that person. I like to see who I'm talking to and kind of have like the
Yeah,
visual thing, but I don't do anything with the video, to be honest. I just work with the audio. So being able to have that video aspect in there is really, I think, beneficial um,
yeah,
for the future. But, it would be appropriate for it, if they do say, here's my book, here's what I'm promoting, and they do hold it up, that they are actually having
yeah.
it to be shown, that it's just not, they're holding it up and it's not going to ever get seen. So I thought, okay,
Okay.
I probably am going to try to integrate video in there. There's just some other things. I would like to maybe have some more sponsorships and ads. That's kind of have been something I've been struggling with a little bit about when it comes to podcasting, has been trying to monetize it and getting it. I use PodMatch as a sponsor because they said, we can use you can use us as a sponsorship. We don't care. So
Yeah.
they gave me permission to do it. I said, oh, okay. But I kind of would like kind of more of a variety base. So that's kind of something I would like to hopefully see in the next year, would be trying to get sponsors or things to kind of have their
Yeah.
whatever they have kind of promoted on my show at the beginning, to get some kind of ad revenue in there is a little bit too. Um, Another thing I'd love to do would be to go to a lot of these podcasting events. I did not
Yeah.
know that podcasting events were so popular as they were. So hopefully in the future I can go to a podcasting event in person and finally meet some people that
Yeah.
I've had on as podcast guests, and we kind of just connect in
Right.
person. I'd love that. Someone that I'm really good friends with, you might have you might know who it is, Mr. Whiskey. If you've ever had him on your show, he's on Podmatch. He's
Hmm.
fantastic, love him to death. And he told me about this podcast cruise, and I said, hold on. I said, wait a minute.
Hold on.
There's a
Hold on.
cruise that's designated for podcasters. And he said, yeah. And I said, send me details. And I was just like, so hopefully in the future I can go on a cruise and enjoy a nice cruise while also doing podcasting on there. I think that would be very fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, doing any of these podcasting events in person would really be fun, I think,
Yeah.
of getting that experience in there. And there's just some other goals too that I have, that's like maybe get some more people to listen and maybe reach some more follower milestones and episode milestones. So
Yeah.
I'm hopeful. Well, some of the bigger ones are sponsorship opportunities, being able to go to um, podcast events in person, and just kind of like help expand the show a little bit more.
Yeah. Just happened for me yesterday for this show. Apple has their top 200 charts, and each country has their own charts, right? So for how to, this show yesterday was number 16 out of 200 in Canada for how to. That's like, I got an email from, I use a thing called Mopod as a way to keep track of like chart rankings and stuff. They have a free version, charts/mopod.com. They were on the show too in the past. So I used that, and they sent me this message saying, congratulations, you're number 16 out of 200 in Canada. And I'm like, what? So I go and I look, and yeah, it's true. I'm like no, I don't spend any time on like promotion and paying for views, none of that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just creating content. Do like you. I'm just creating content. I loved podcasting. Whatever happens, happens. I'm thrilled. But I was shocked that this actually happens, that a little show like mine could actually catch the attention of the world. So there's potential, right? So just keep being you, keep creating your content, show up, serve your guests, serve your community. And over time, you're just going to build up this momentum over time. If you just keep showing up and doing great things. Do you have any plans for your 1 year anniversary episode? Are you going to do something special?
I don't know at this point if I am going to do anything special. I'll probably, when I record on that day, will say, hey, this is my 1 year anniversary of the show. I am very behind on posting my shows. I have
Yeah.
done like over 200 interviews, and people are like, but you've only posted 80 episodes. That's how far behind I am. I'm aware.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm not mad about being so far behind, because I was like, I've always told people, I said, heaven forbid that if something happened that I couldn't record, I would have so many episodes back
Right.
piled up to where I could just post them. So it's kind of a smart idea on my behalf. Some people might say that's lazy. Some people might say that's really unprofessional. I'm seeing it as like a future me would be very appreciative of it. So,
Right.
um, And that's one thing, other thing a lot of people get mad about is like, what's taking forever? Some people are like, it'll come out when it does. I totally understand that you are a one-man show. It'll come out when it's ready. Those are the types of guests I really loved because they're really
Yeah.
understanding. And then I've
Yeah.
had guests that are like, when's my episode coming out? When is it coming out? Why is it taking so long? It was just like, it's coming out soon. This
Yeah.
hold your horses. And it's it's just like calm down. But
Yeah.
yeah, the chart thing's another one I kind of would love. So for like the Mo chart or the Mo pod, does it do like it'll
Mopar,
just
yeah.
send you a notification if your podcast appears on any kind of chart?
Yeah, and it keeps that has an chart. So Japan, like I'm looking at mine right now, Japan, Canada, U.S., all over the world. And if you show up anywhere, it'll send you an email, so you can sign up. So it's just charts plural .mopod.com is the website, and you just search up your podcast, and it'll give you a link to your Apple podcast. It'll give you a link to your show. It'll tell you how many episodes, when you last released your last episode, everything. And you can then sign up right there for an email that'll come to you anytime you show up. They won't email you if you're not showing up in the moment, so you don't get flooded with emails. But I've getting emails like I'm number 60 in Egypt. I'm like, really? Okay. I didn't even instead of going to all these charts and looking them up individually, which takes a lot of time, Mopod has this free version that just does that for you. So they were on my show. They're going to come back in the future for more updates, but it's a really great website for podcasters just to keep track and keep your thumb on it. So there's times where I won't hear anything for months. And then all of a sudden, boom, there's an email. It's like, oh, wow, this is great. It'll tell you if you're going up the chart or down the chart and that kind of stuff.
I've got that.
Yeah. So
I have that tab up on my computer.
so take a look.
I'm gonna look at that.
In the top right corner, you'll see a spot where you can
look.
sign up and get notifications for you on that page. They'll email you. So I would encourage you to sign up and just put your email in, and then you'll see anytime you show up anywhere. And they have like a 7-day, 30-day, 60-day chart. So yeah, if you're on Apple and you get charted for any reason, you could be 199 of 200, and they'll send you a message. So it's great. It's a nice little thing because you don't have to worry about it, right? You have to go check.
I'll have to look into that. One of the good things about PodMatch is that they kind of have that own ranking, and my podcast has constantly been in like the top 5 and even top 10 for months. And it's something that I never would have thought that, here you have a lot of, there's so many good professional podcasts on PodMatch that have been doing it for years, and they've been doing it for such a long time. And here's just like this new person that came on and essentially just started essentially like a few months ago and has already been doing really well. And it's just really shocking that to be able to be on a chart like that and have it where people can actually see it. One goal is that I would love to be able to get on number 1. I need to try so hard to get Daniel off number 1. He is this overpowering number 1, which I love him so much. His work ethic is so it's inspiring. How he's able to do kind of like you, multiple podcasts. I do hundreds and hundreds of interviews. It seems like a day. I don't know how he gets it. I don't know how he gets any sleep because I feel like he is just continuously working. But I'm like, I've got to dethrone him. He's got to give up that number 1 spot. It's time, Daniel. It's time for you to give it up for me. But so hit number 1 would be ideal for next year. Hopefully, it'll happen at some point. I think the highest I've ever been has been number 2. So I've been really close, 2 or 3. So I've been real close. I've just got to dethrone. I've just got to dethrone that top spot. It's such a hard one. And then there's another one on there that's new, that's kind of fairly new. It has really gone to number 1 quick. And I'm just like,
come on, Alex,
just give it to me for one day.
Screenshot
I promise I won't complain anymore. People will definitely know. I thought, just let it be for one day. I'll be happy for just one day. How about just give me a mark? Just
I
let it
love
be
it.
number one for one day. I'll be happy for that number one spot for for
It's
just
amazing.
one day because I will
Yeah, well, yeah,
screenshot
you're
it
gonna
and
put
I will
that
save
everywhere.
that
That'll be
forever.
on your backdrop, right behind you there. You have room in the bottom corner, right there on the screen. Yeah,
I'll just have
yeah.
it like here.
I love it. No, congratulations on almost 1 year in your podcast. I'm excited for you. All the amazing guests you've had on your show. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of great guests coming up in the future as well. You've got a great backlog of episodes to release anytime you want. I would encourage you to celebrate with your audience for that 1 year anniversary, even just a quick 5 minute episode where you just jump on and say thanks to your audience, because there's so many podcasters who don't get to the 1 year mark. Like for you to do that, that's something that's really, really amazing. So congratulations in advance. And I'm a listener of your show. So I love listening to what you do and following your podcast. So I'm cheering you on as a listener, and, congratulations on getting that 1 year mark. That's going to be a great time for you. I'm really excited for you.
Yeah, that was always something that a lot of guests are really shocked about is a lot of guests don't really make it this long because of the discouragement about they don't really get noticed, they don't really get notified from or really highlighted from other podcasters, and they just don't really feel like their podcast is going anywhere. I never thought that my podcast will be where it is now, that I kind of do get paid to do the podcast now. I essentially started as a
Yeah.
hobby. It's more of a casual hobby that would just be something I would do in my spare time, in my free time. Never would have thought this would be like a full-time job now for me. I've really been focused and really have really been dedicated and have really put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into the show, for something that just started out
Right.
as a casual thing. I never thought that it would get to this point where it is now. And having just one listener, like it's kind of like how you said earlier, you've been charting on multiple different charts across the country, across the world. My show's been heard in
It's
so many
amazing.
continents. It's just
Right.
mind boggling to be like, how is someone from Egypt and India,
Yeah.
Japan hearing my show? I'm just like, how are people
Right.
hearing what I'm saying? How are people hearing what I have? So it's just really interesting and really fun to know that people all over the world are listening to the show. Um, I just feel really appreciative, and I'm excited to see where this year goes. It'll be the first time doing the podcast for a full year, so it'll be interesting to see how much I do this year. But it's just more of a I just kind of wake up and to see how the
Nice.
podcast is doing that day. I just kind of go with the flow, and that's just
Yeah.
has always worked
I
out for
like the
me.
idea of obsess over the people who are listening. Don't obsess over the numbers. Like really pour yourself into the people, right? Whether that's one person, 100,000 people, whatever that number is, it doesn't matter what that number is. You just show up for the people who are there and focus on them, and just give them your best in every episode. Give them great guests, great conversations, great interviews. Show up on a regular basis, be consistent. All those things are good, but really just focus on the people who are there. And then over time, it'll grow. It'll just keep growing and growing and growing because you're a podcaster who cares about your audience. So I love it. Know what? Promote your show as we head out the door and get ready for 2026. Where do we go to find all things Lethal Venom? How do we connect with you past our time today?
So my show Lethal Venom essentially is wherever you get podcasts from. I'm on basically on all the major platforms: Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Pandora. I also just learned and found out that I am on
There you go.
Audible. Did not know that my show was on Audible at all, or else I would have been promoting that. So essentially just look wherever you get your podcast from, it's on there. And then for the socials, I'm on Instagram and TikTok at Lethal Venom Podcast. You can also find me on the Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Noah's podcast on there. Um, if you want to be a guest on my show as well, feel free to hit me up on PodMatch. This Lethal Venom on PodMatch. Just kind of search up and find my profile on there, and or you can email me lethalvenompod@gmail.com. That's kind of what I have going on right now. Essentially, if I have any changes that come, I do announce it, and I'll definitely will let Dave know if there's any changes that comes out before our episode comes out. But those are kind of where Lethal Venom's available on some of the major
Excellent.
platforms. Where
All
you
the
can find
best
me
to you,
on.
Noah, in the new year. I'm excited to see where your podcast takes you and all the great things ahead for you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I had a great time, and I thought that your podcast is a really good one to highlight really good podcasters. Like, I'm not going to say myself because I don't think I'm the best of the best out there, and by no means, but I think it's really, really good that you have a podcast out there that's really highlighting podcasters. I think that's really good. So I appreciate my time being on here, and thank you so much for having me.
Excellent, everyone. Noah, podcast host of Lethal Venom. You want to hear some great interviews? You want to meet a great podcaster? Go check out Lethal Venom. Links in the show notes. I know Noah would love to get your reviews. Love for you to follow his show and leave him some comments on Spotify or wherever you're listening. Let him know that you've been listening. Noah, thank you so much. Happy New Year to you, my friend.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Hey, thanks for listening to the podcast all the way through to the end. I love having these great guest co-hosts on the show to share their podcast with you. You have some homework to do. What I'm asking of you is to go check out our featured guest co-host today. Go over and listen to their podcast. The links are always in the show notes. And I'd love for you to go and give them your love and support. And I think if we can all do that for each other, podcasting will be a lot more fun for all of us. So it's time to do what you've asked others to do for you. It's time to do for this guest co-host. Links in the show notes. Go over and check out their show and leave them a review. Do the follow. Go listen to their episodes in full, the entirety of an episode, which again shows to the apps that it's a good podcast because you're going there and you're staying to the end. Probably one of the best ways you can help a podcaster grow their audience and be shown to more people is by simply going and listening wherever you listen to the very end, like you're doing right now here. This is the perfect way to signal to wherever you're listening on, this is a podcast worth promoting. And all of the apps want you to stay on as long as possible. So go over and listen to our guest co-host episode and leave them some feedback. If they have a buy me a coffee, send them a coffee. If they have a speak pipe, send them a voice message. If they have an email, send them an email. If they're on Instagram, send them a direct message. Do something to support our guest co-hosts. They've given up their time to be here with you, to be here with me, and we can give that back to them with time and attention, our love, our support. Thank you for doing all that for me as well. Here on the How to Podcast series, we'll talk to you soon for our next episode. Hey, you're still here. Awesome. It's Dave. Most people are gone. So I do like a little bonus at the end of the episode, just you and me. And I want to answer a question I got from a podcaster. I'm helping them start their show. They're doing a solo podcast. No interviews, just them. And they're like, how do I get into the tone and feel of my show? How do I make it feel more conversational when it's just me staring at my monitor? I told them to grab a mirror, just a small mirror, put it somewhere around your monitor, wherever you kind of looking, where your notes will be, so that you see a human face. It's your face, but it's somebody you're looking at. Another alternative would be to get a picture of somebody on your phone and put that up. But a phone, a mirror, something. But have a human face to look at when you're recording. And if you can imagine, that is the person listening to your show. And talk to them. Talk to them as if they were here with you. And it'll make you sound more conversational, less scripted, less audiobook-ish, and more podcast-ish, just by simply having a face to associate as your listener who will listen to this later. So it's a great little tip for a new podcaster getting started. A simple, cheap mirror that you can buy from your local dollar store or wherever, or your phone, and have it just up somewhere where you're looking. as you're preparing and doing your podcast. It's always nice to see a friendly face looking back at you. Even if it's yours, that's even better. And it's a great way to connect with your audience and imagine them here with you. So instead of staring at your monitor, instead of staring at the wall or the clothes in your closet while you're recording, get a mirror, your phone out, get a picture of a person, and talk to the image you're looking at. And imagine that is your ideal listener. And I think you'll connect better. You'll talk differently. You'll speak in a more relaxed tone because you're looking at a face and they're looking at you, just like you would when you hang out with your friends at the restaurant. My little tip, try a mirror, try your phone, and talk to it and see if it works for you. Let me know. Glad to help anytime. Take care.